All right, we are now live with another recap on House of the Dragon, Episode 5. What were your guys' thoughts on this latest one?
I thought it was really boring and I got nothing to say.
Thank you all for coming to this live. This has been Peter Murphy and Brandon Elrich. I'm Ben Ulancey with the Gen Z Report, and yeah,
That was it.
pretty
Yeah.
much pretty much nails everything.
Yeah.
No.
Brandon, what about you?
I kind of thought it was kind of similar to the last episode. I mean, kind of what you said. I mean, I didn't think it was like completely boring, but it didn't seem like there was anything huge that happened. There were like, minor things you could see, like starting of, well, like Bela, is that her name? Bela, and the other dragon rider, I can't remember his name. I'm horrible with names.
Well, quite a lot of Dragon Riders in your defense.
Yeah. I think his name is Adam.
Oh yeah. I think that's right.
Mhm.
But you could
Mhm.
kind of see, like, at least I detected some kind of, chemistry there. Like maybe something was going to happen between them at some point. But
Mhm.
things like that, little things like that, and
Well, if
um,
something's going to happen between them, they're going to have to do it soon because, like, we're running out of episodes.
yeah,
Yeah, this latest one kind of gave me a flashback to the end of season 2, where I really, really felt going into this episode like something climactic was about to happen. And
Mhm.
the last 2 weeks before this one, I was very forgiving of the slowing in pace. But this one, I was kind of just like, oh, what the fuck, guys? Especially since I drove back in the middle of the night from not exclusively to see House of the Dragon, mind you, but House of the
Right.
Dragon was a thought on my mind as I completed this
It was something that you wanted to
cross-state
get
drive.
into the day so you could
Right.
talk about
Right.
later or write about it. Yeah, I get it.
So
Yeah, but it's like
whole
then
plan to
like
watch the latest episode on my big flat screen with surround sounds and had my popcorn ready. There was no popcorn, but I was so ready for this latest episode, and it did not quite deliver on that level, which I think is kind of a shame because there were moments in this episode that I feel like Game of Thrones had a better way of inflating into something that like really sticks with you. Like there were a couple scenes that were a big deal, but when you're expecting like one of the like big battles of the show, it's like doesn't really land the way that it should. Like the
it's not
Aemon
even about
Alice scene, I think, for example. What were you gonna say?
yeah, sorry, but it's not even about like a big climactic scene. It's just like what I said last week, some sort of payoff,
Yeah.
you know? Like because they're setting up everything. There's Kristen Cole, the Winter Wolves, Aemond in Harrenhal, and then there's like Tumbleton, Jesus Christ, like Tumbleton, and King's Landing, and it's like, are you going to have all these payoffs in the last 2 episodes, 1 episode? Because of like what I was saying earlier in the month, I think they're changing so much, and it was like my worst nightmare about what they're going to do. And now that I know that they're moving that big thing for sure to season 4, I'm like, all right, well, that's if I can make my peace with that. Because remember, for anyone watching, like, it's a good show. I'm just kind of nitpicking, but now it's gotten into a point where it's just like, I think they're going to do something with Tumbleton because in the books, Tumbleton is like a really big deal over there's two big things that happen at Tumbleton. And now I'm starting to think that they're going to compress it all into like one battle, at Tumbleton. And everything's going to happen. And that's going to be really weird because for people who don't know the books, if they compress everything into Tumbleton, that happens in like, 2 or 3 battles in the books, people are going to be like shocked at like all the shit that goes down. And because there hasn't been enough payoffs earlier on, that with the other payoffs they're going to have to put into the last episode, it's just going to be jam-packed, and each one of them will lose. That's why I kind of feel like the Sunfire reveal, if it happens, should have happened in the last episode, or the Helena thing escaping, or something to do with the other dragons. There's other kind of payoffs that happen. They should happen sooner, other than all at the same time, because we all know like a lot of stuff has to happen.
I
What
wonder
do
if
you
they
think?
were like just relying on a lot of cliffhangers in like the last couple. Well, like this one. There's
Yeah.
Because Allison and where they ended up at the end of the
Mhm.
episode. It's like, so you're like, oh, what's gonna happen with them? Are they gonna? Is this one where they're gonna kill them off or something like that? And then the well, oh, there's something else. I thought there was another kind of well, I guess what Damon sees at the end,
Mhm.
like that's like a kind of a
Right.
cliffhanger, kind of a big thing.
That's kind of a tiny payoff, and also a cliffhanger. But after what happened with Sheep Stealer and Reina, I was like so jacked and so hyped to see him confront his daughter, in the cave with the
Yeah.
dragon. And like I said last time, it was just so sort of like, whatever. And I saw that she's in the preview for the next episode. So you know how like
Oh,
every episode's preview? So like she's in the preview for the next episode, and I'm like starting to think, okay, well, what do they have planned for her now? So that's another person. And also Tywin Lannister is back.
Yeah.
Finally. What did you think of that?
yeah. I thought I don't know. Maybe I guess I missed something because I thought they showed his head on a spike or something at one point. Huh?
I don't I don't know if this was just my exhaustion, but I think this was the most confused that I've felt during an episode so far this season. And it's possible that this is just like a result of watching it week by week. And if I were watching it day to day to day and episode by episode, I would have a
Yeah.
slightly more fluid idea of who's who. But there were a few moments this episode where I felt a little bit unsure what they were showing me. Like I need to watch a review and make sure that I'm fully concrete on everything that happened.
I don't think that's just you, like, because I remember back in the day waking up early because of the time zones, to watch Game of Thrones, and I would have my coffee, and I love having at least 3 coffees in the morning. And I'd be watching Game of Thrones, like new episodes when they used to come out all the time.
Mm,
And I wouldn't get up to make a new cup of coffee. If my coffee was gone, it was gone. I was sitting there watching it.
yeah.
But with House of the Dragon, maybe because I'm getting older, I don't know. Like I'm pausing it and I'm walking away to do other stuff. You know what I mean? I didn't do that for the first episode with the Battle of the Gauntlet because I'm not insane. Like, I will sit down and watch that. But for these episodes, I'm just kind of like, ugh, because the minute something that I expect to happen isn't happening, I'm like, well, I'm 20 minutes in. That thing's not going to happen in this episode. So why the fuck am I watching it? You know what I mean?
There, there's a conclusion that I'm coming to as we're having this conversation that I'm gonna have a slightly hard time trying to articulate. But I feel like one of the biggest differences between Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon is the way that they build suspense. And with Game of Thrones, it was more minute cliffhangers at the end of each episode. And with this, it's this gradual feeling of building. Like there's going to be this huge conflict coming, and more routinely, it seems to fail on that front. There have been a few times so far where it's like it really it feels like it's leading into something, and it just it draws it out. It's definitely something I'm not used to with Game of Thrones.
So, which new character did they reintroduce in the episode, the most recent episode?
Which new character did they reintroduce?
Yeah.
Uh, Thailand is the only one that comes to mind. I'm not sure what you mean beyond
All
that.
right, okay. So
Raina's
Huh?
Oh, I was gonna say Rhaena's son.
That's right, Rhaena's son, Joffrey.
Mm,
He's super important. He's super important. And then this is the thing, it's like I feel like they're bringing these people into the show. They're like, it's like they're writing as they go. We're like, oh, there's a huge thing with Joffrey that happens in the books. Is he in the show right now? No, no, no. He went off to Pentos thousands of miles away. Bring him back, and make sure you put him in for a scene so people remember him. It's so strange what they're doing with their side characters.
At the same time, it's one of the things that I find most convincing about the world. It really feels like all of these people to me are off living their own lives while these other plots are going on. And for this happened to me also in Game of Thrones, for example. When I watched Battle of the Bastards for the first time and Rickon Stark played this instrumental role in the beginning of it, um, I had no recollection whatsoever of Rickon Stark being a character. And
Right.
then when I go back and watch Game of Thrones again, it added a layer of richness to me that, okay, yeah, he was actually in it all this time. He just was off doing his own thing. He wasn't that important for these years. And yeah, that's something that I do like about House of the Dragon.
Yeah,
yeah,
but that's true. I forgot about that. But that's a show kind of only thing. You know what I mean? Like Rickon is still on Skagos, which is this island in the books. And so that's another thing with the show, with the writers for the TV, where it's like, oh yeah, there's this kid Rickon. We better bring him back in. Let's put him in the Battle of the Bastards and have him be killed off. It is cool if you go back and you see like back when he was a kid in season 1 and season 2. I'm not disputing that, but it's definitely you don't. My point is you don't have to in this one. You have to because Joffrey, the kid that they reintroduced, he really is pivotal. Like there's a huge thing that happens and he's pivotal. But like Rickon hadn't been pivotal in the books at all. Like I said, he's gone. So I'm like the fact that they're like, just let's bring him back and let's just kill him in the Battle of the Bastards. That's going to fix all our problems. Or you could not and just have him be a loose end. That's like, and that would kind of play in more to characters off living their own lives.
kind of going back to what you said, Ben. There was a lot of letdown. I feel like they're building up, and then, well, like with Christian, like,
Yeah.
oh, something's gonna, they're on the move. Something's gonna happen with them, and then you find out, oh no, he's just giving up. That's just it's like, oh well, hmm, it's kind of pointless to have our hopes up for him, but and that may not be the result. There may be something else that maybe there's a twist that reinvigorates him or something. But
I also said something last week about Sir Christian Cole that I feel the need to retract. I said that he was growing,
yeah,
he was growing on me as a character. This episode, I didn't like him at all.
yeah.
Yeah, Colonel Cuts or something. That wasn't that Colonel from what's the name of that film, Apocalypse Now? It's like, all right, bro, we get it. You want to die, but then like he's talking about the singers singing songs. Like he sounded like Sansa Stark or something like that. You know what I mean?
Something that was something I actually wanted to bring up. I think it's so funny how like the ultimate sign of success in this world is having people sing songs about you. Like that
Right.
means so much to people. It's like, oh, well,
Yeah.
people sing songs about me. That's all I
Well,
want
it's
to
Yeah.
hear.
kind of it's kind of like as a writer, you want to live on through your books and your writing and whatnot. And I guess that's
Yeah,
kind of similar to them. The only way they're gonna
yeah.
live on in a way it's if they're written in the history books or songs are repeated about them.
It's the antiquated version of becoming a meme or having a statue attributed to you.
Yeah.
More
So, do you think? Um. So what's how many episodes are there this season? 6, 7,
well,
8?
I think there are going to be 8, I believe.
So we got 3 episodes left.
Yeah.
So we've got probably a small battle the next one with a lead up to the big one, then a big one, and then a wrap up. So what do you think? Like, you guys didn't read the books. I'm always talking about, but just as like viewers, like who are just watching the shows, like what do you think of that? Would you have more patience with all of this if there was like 6 seasons and 10 episodes per season, and the seasons weren't like two? You didn't have to wait like 10 years for the next season.
What is is there like a project? Do they know right now how many seasons they're going to have and everything? Do we know that? I mean, I'm sure they
Yeah,
know,
next
but
season is the last season.
what was that?
There's the next season is the last season. So
Oh,
season
okay.
4, there's
I do
been
kind of have a
there,
feeling they're going to draw it out for another. It's a loose prediction of mine, but it feels a little
well,
bit
put it
that way
this
right now.
way, there's only been 3 seasons of House of the Dragon, and I'm 38 now. I'm nearly 38 now. When the show first aired, I was 14. That's like how long there is between seasons. Like, I couldn't believe how long we had to wait. And it makes the excitement level go down a lot. You know? Because I'm like, all right, what am I supposed to do for 2 years? Get a life? No, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
1 year's
people
much
kind
better.
of lose fans, and people forget about it. Kind of like well um um oh shoot, I just lost the name of the Apple TV. He goes to Adam Scott goes to work and forgets
Severance.
his Severance. Yeah, there was like quite a bit of time between the first and second season, wasn't there? If I remember
I
right.
wouldn't know, having only started the show once season 2 already came out. That's
Oh,
always
okay,
nice when you can jump in and just binge through a whole bunch of seasons.
right.
But yeah, I way prefer when it can be 1 year or ideally less between the seasons. Because with the show as elaborate and interconnected as House of the Dragon, it's those that 2 year jump. It really necessitates you going back and rewatching the whole show if you're gonna follow what's going on. So with each new season that's come out so far, I've kind of tried to start on the new season, and I'm a little bit like, all right, what's going on? I think I need to go back, and it's a
It's hard
fun and
to
rewarding enough
rewatch
show that I don't mind. So again,
It's hard to rewatch season 2. Like, season 1's really good. Rewatching season 2, except for Rook's Rest, it's a bit of a drag. You know, it's the same. I feel like the same thing. I feel like this season we got our Rook's Rest at the Battle of the Gullet, and now it's not even that interesting because I'm keep repeating myself, but there's too many characters and too little payoff. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, we'll see what happens. Um, I don't know. I think because I saw the Odyssey, so I coming back to House of the Dragon now after watching Christopher Nolan's film makes everything kind of seem worse.
when I think about the literal things that happened in a Game of Thrones episode, I feel like this one actually did compare to it pretty well in a lot of ways. Like for example, the Aemond defending Elise scene that could have been really really climactic and enjoyable if they had properly led up to it. But yeah, I that frustrated me a little bit.
100%. That could have been like if they had like narrowed it down, just Aemon, and you cut a few things, and we actually felt
Yeah,
because like he's having a few dreams about Aegon or whatever, and but like, is he ever going to get out of bed? He's not a likable character, but if they had written him in a likable way where we could do a Jamie Lannister with him, and
yeah,
maybe if he was injured in such a way where his hand doesn't work or his shoulders bust, and then like comes out like da 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 da, and he slays all the men at the end. You're 100% right. That would have been a fantastic Game of Thrones climactic moment. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
But this one, there's too much.
And also, like, I think that even if they hadn't built up to it, just the fact that we were expecting this episode to be this big, big battle, that kind of soured almost everything that happened in the absence of that. I feel like because it wasn't really an uneventful episode. I feel like in a lot of ways this was a pretty typical episode of Game of Thrones in the plot development and dialogue and whatnot. But yeah, when I went into it so certain that it was going to be one of the biggest battles of the show so far, it's just like, yeah, it
Yeah,
really
and
did
I don't
sour
think
everything else.
I'm gonna correct you just like because we know this goes on YouTube, and you know what people like on YouTube can be like. It's not like we're not saying like we were expecting like the huge biggest battle, but we were definitely expecting maybe Kristen Cole's battle or you know another battle before the big battle because they like we said they're setting it all up, and now it just feels like it's going to be squashed.
I guess not knowing anything of what happens in the book, I've kind of been led to feel like this is a big battle coming up. The way that they're building up
Oh
Ormond
no,
and
you're
Darren.
right, it is, but there's like think about where Kristen Cole is
Mhm.
and where the other dragons hunting Vagar. Think about where Aegon is, and then think about Tumbleton as well. They're not all going to come on one spot. There's meant to be lots of different ones happening.
Well,
You know,
after last week being, what it wasn't, nothing huge happened. I think we just kind of expect something to happen in the next episode, and this one was just kind of like the last one. Is just carrying over. Like, well, okay, maybe
yeah,
the next episode or something will happen.
Well,
but it was
one
like the
thing,
Sons of the Harpy in season 5 or 6 of Game of Thrones. I can't remember in Marine with Daenerys, where they just didn't know who was doing it. And they kind of had the whole season to set up the Sons of the Harpy. But this whole thing with the Gold Cloaks, it's only been kind of going on for 2 episodes.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you know,
So I think it would have been a terrible mistake if they made Aemond do the same thing that uh so many similar names. I always feel like I'm clubbing things.
Damon and Aemond.
Aemond and Damon. It
Right.
it's I felt like when he got to Harrenhal that that at first they might just imitate his exact plot, Damon's exact plot from last season, and they were just gonna show him just biding time more or less, being haunted, chopping wood, doing his thing. And I think that the his absence from the screen has been kind of effective, and one of the biggest shortcomings from the last season was a lot of wasted time with Damon. It felt like there were so many people that were complaining like Damon's not doing shit. He's just chopping wood in Harrenhal. What the fuck? And
Yeah.
right, Aemond. I think that it was nice to not see him these past 2 episodes in a way.
There was they showed the Green Man on the God's Eye at Harrenhal. Remember the guys with the antlers,
Hmm.
like the fairy, the fawns or something. And like they're real in the books, and I'm just kind of looking at it. I'm like, are you going to do something with these guys? Because they're only spoken about in the book. You know what I mean? They're like kind of mythic. And if you're showing them, if you're really going like balls out, kind of showing these guys, because in the books we don't know if they're just normal guys who wear antlers. You know what I mean? To kind of fit in with nature, but in the show, it looks like they're making them like the fawn from Pan's Labyrinth. You know what I mean? They're a real kind of thingamajig. But there's a theory in the books that I can't spoil it for you of one of the characters. After the dance, nobody knows where this character goes, but they disappear around Harrenhal. Put it that way. So there's a theory that the Green Men take them. Okay. And they're kind of still alive in the Game of Thrones universe somewhere as immortals. And so when I saw them kind of showing the Green Men, my same thing with Sunfire last time. The only reason you're going to show Sunfire is to show that there's a chance it's not dead, you know? So I'm like, you're showing the Green Men. Are you guys going to do this kind of thing where you kind of fan service this fan theory that like George R. R. Martin has said is not true? You know? So yeah, I found that really interesting. Well, not really interesting. I found it slightly interesting why they were putting the Green Men in the show.
One thing I could have been clearer on, and I don't know if this was just drowsiness or the week gap between episodes, but did the person that Aegon killed in this episode, was that the person who made him kiss his shoe in the last one?
I think so.
I That's what I thought.
Okay, I wasn't sure, and that also felt a little like they could have maybe focused more on that that scene. I was a little unclear.
It was weird because it was like if that was the guy who made him kiss his boots, and he's kind of like, Joe, rah, rah, I'm in charge. Why is he sneaking up to his bag? Why does he just go up and grab the bag and have a look in it? You know what I mean? As if he's really been caught.
That's definitely true.
Oh, and what was the deal with that crown? I was also a little bit confused by that. Did I miss something there? Where did that crown come from?
Laris gave him that crown. I mean, you're right to be confused. Laris gave him that crown and took it with him to give to Aegon or as they left. But yeah, it's kind of like it's so weird, man, that like they're kind of keeping up this whole kind of like Sunfire is dead thing. If the bloody thing is dead and you're not going to bring it in, then just have him move on. You know what I mean? Is like get a move on because the show can be funny and it's better for it. Sometimes it can be genuinely funny, this show. And I just thought it'd be really great to have Aegon do this like redemption arc where he finally becomes a good man because he doesn't have his dragon and he's like, I guess I gotta be a good king now. And then Sunfire arrives and he goes, the hell with all of you. And he turns around and and that would work with his character because I think he's quite funny in a terrible way. But yeah, we've only got 3 episodes left, so it's like, giddy up, get it done.
I really liked Laris telling Aegon the fuck off in this episode. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought he was about to.
It's funny because like Aegon is like a kind of you know people like him in the real world who are just born with the fucking silver spoon in their mouth and still feel like they have it so hard. And for Laris to just feel like, dude, you were born with a dragon, you were raised to be king, you had everything given to you. Stop bitching.
Yeah. I thought at that moment, Aemon was gonna. He had that. Well, I don't know what it was. He had in his hand a rock or
dragon scale.
Oh, okay, yeah. And I thought for sure he's like, as soon as he turns his back, he's gonna go up and. But no.
Yeah, I was sitting down this morning watching it about 45 minutes, 50 minutes in because I remember when I clicked play on HBO and I saw it's like 1 minute or sorry 1 hour 6 minutes. Good. You know what I mean? There's going to be something happening here. And my wife came in and sat down next to me about 20 minutes in. The last time she sat down next to me and watched a full show was the Battle of the Gullet. She was like, "Ooh, wow, okay, this is cool." But since then, she's kind of looked in and out and kind of gone, eh. And about like 50 minutes into this episode, she was making herself coffee and she was looking at her. She's like, what episode is this? Episode 5. She's like, anything happening? And I'm like, no, there's not even any dragons or shit, like it's House of Dragons. There's not any dragons. She's like, get to work, bitches. You know what I mean? Like, because we know there's only 3 episodes left and she's not even involved in any of this mess. And she's getting frustrated that there's no dragons.
Instead, they're focusing on getting the cats in the palace to get rid of the rats and stuff.
It's like the cat. As long as the cats don't get harmed or no dogs get harmed, I'm happy. Although I think we are going to see a lot of bad shit happen to a lot of dragons pretty soon. Unfortunately, I can feel it in my bones. Like we all know what happened to them because of Game of Thrones, but because of the timeline, and they're messing with the timeline, I feel like we're going to lose 90% of the dragons in season 3 in this season. And season 4, there's only going to be 2 dragons left. Like that's I don't know, by the way.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I just have a feeling that they're kind of going like, let's fucking kill off. So we don't have to deal with the CGI in season 4.
Not a good reason.
No, it's not. Not a good reason.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny proposition watching House of the Dragon with how devastating some of these first dragon losses have been, knowing full well that the ending of the show is going to be just traumatic on a whole other level. Lion King on steroids. And
Yeah.
man, like the Battle of the Gullet, Rook's Rest, those together were both like some of the most harrowing scenes from any show movie I've ever experienced. So to know that there's like much more of that coming up, whether it's in season 3 or season 4, it's funny to put ourselves through that, knowing it's going to be so fucking hard to watch.
I alluded to this last week. I'm not saying whether the dragon lives or dies. Okay, no spoilers. But I'm not going to name the dragon. But there is a dragon that has one of the saddest endings in for any character in Game of Thrones. It's just super sad, really sad.
Dude, that one in
And
the first episode got me. The being dragged under the water, like, oh,
yeah,
my
that was
heart.
awful. That was awful. But the one I'm talking
Worse
about,
than that. Worse
it was like, "Man, you gotta show. You're showing the dragons. They're all going to have sad moments. Okay, it's just the way it is. Okay, the but the one with the most poetic, saddest, not end. It's kind of gray area. You're not giving it enough screen time or enough of its personality for us to understand why that dragon is so special, because that dragon it refused to fly beyond the wall. It could sense the others back in like 50, 60 years ago. It was very sensitive. And then there's Helena's dragon, Dreamfire, which is like the second most beautiful dragon in the world. Helena is the girl who's pregnant, Alison's kid. And she's got like the third biggest dragon or something, and it's the most beautiful. And it's like, that's like a really important character as well in the books. And it's like, you don't have to do much. You should be seeing it. And we should be seeing more of the Dragon Keepers, even just for 2 minutes per episode, their life and how they feed the dragons and how they're kind of like, big dogs or big cats. And they're just not doing that. And it's like, we get it. Ruling King's Landing is hard. We know that. We saw Ned, Robert, and all that. Show us more of the Duncan side. A dragon keeper, a day in the life of a dragon keeper, a day in the life of, someone who had their sheep taken away so could be fed to a dragon. I think that'd be super cool. But of course, they don't have time because they're trying to do biographies on 27 characters.
On that first point with characterizing each of the individual dragons, I think that the show taps into something very similar to Jurassic Park in that they don't really need to actually characterize the individual dragons to display their majesty and what a rarity they are in the world. Because, for example, Jace's dragon, who was pulled under the water in that first episode, I don't really remember anything about him beforehand, and that was still absolutely devastating for me to watch. And same with Daenerys is one dragon who got pulled under the water, I guess under similar circumstances, kind of. Um, and yeah, devastating to watch. I don't even remember that dragon's name, and it was devastating to watch. Either of them, come to think of it.
Yeah. Rhaegal hit different. The Daenerys' green dragon. That hit different because I kind of, after the Battle of Winterfell, he was injured and she was watching him take off and making sure he could fly. And I was like, oh, the poor guy, he's okay. And then like, bam, he got taken out. And I was like, oh, it was awful.
That was Euron?
Yeah, Euron, who was just parked. Like, that's not how boats work. You can't just park your bloody boat, between two huge rocks with the current. Anyway, it's the whole thing.
That did also make for one of the best D&D gaff moments where they're explaining the episode beforehand and they're like, yeah, Danny sort of just like forgot about Euron.
Yeah, he forgot about one of the biggest fleets in the known world. Yeah, and one of the biggest psychos. And also, that she was really high. You know what I mean? That
just
would have
picture
to be
Daenerys baked as
a
fuck.
big, like, arrow. Sorry, what's that?
I just pictured Daenerys baked as fuck. It's like, yo, man,
It's
I'm
really
high
high.
right now. Take me for
I
a
know.
higher
It's
drug.
like on Medium about me getting angry about dragon riding gear. Like they should be wearing like those Inuit goggles with the slits, the snow goggles, so like they can like their eyes can be protected, and they shouldn't be like sitting up like this. Like they should be like strapped right down, so it's like aerodynamic. But yeah, just seeing this petite blonde girl, let alone like, a big brutish man on top of a dragon at, I don't know, 10,000 feet in the air. And they're just like, they can breathe. I
Kind of
can
going back
buy the
to what you were.
Sorry, Brandon.
I was just going to go back to what you were saying about not creating empathy, like for the individual dragons, like that they're going to die eventually, and they're not really focusing on creating empathy for them. And also Aemon, like you were saying, if we saw like a character arc like we saw with Jaime Lannister, where we kind of see him change, we might have more empathy for him and kind of root for him almost, but they're not really.
This can I tell you like straight up? Rhaenyra is not the hero, and Daemon is not the hero. Like Daemon's an asshole. Uh, uh, the closest thing you have to a hero in the Dance of Dragons is probably Adam of Hull, Valor. So, no, seriously, like in the books, he's a proper hero. Like he's a really good dude, and maybe Kragan Stark, perhaps. They're the only two heroes. So if you wanted to actually do POVs on anyone, it would be Adam of Hull and maybe Kragan Stark. Um, that would be it. I can't think of anyone else. Oh no, actually, Daron would be
That's what
the
I was
third
gonna.
hero.
I was gonna ask you about.
His name is Daron the Bold in the books. And before they reach Tumbleton, there's a huge battle between the High Towers. This isn't a spoiler because you're not going to see it because they deleted it because they're idiots. There's a whole battle at Honeywine, a town on the way to Tumbleton. And Daron is told, don't, do anything, stay back, you're still young. By Ormond, who's not really a psycho in the books. He's just a normal military commander. And of course, they're losing, and Daron comes in on his dragon and saves the day. And he's this really brave and proud and kind. He's like the perfect knight. Do you know what I mean? And he's got a dragon. His dragon is like very beautiful. And but now it's like I don't know what they're doing with him because because I know I know what's going to happen, and I'm just kind of like, you guys who are running the show know what's going to happen as well. So what's the point of changing that? Because it serves no story purpose whatsoever,
One of my
because he's
thoughts
so much
about
cooler in the book.
one of my thoughts about why they might be changing it is strictly to avoid people who've read the books spoiling exactly how it ends for people who haven't.
Yeah,
But how if I tell you that the Red Sox are beat the Yankees, it doesn't matter how they beat them. You still know the Red Sox beat the Yankees. There's no other way around it, and it's spoiled in Game of Thrones, the show. Like they say it in the show a lot. What happens? I think why they did it is because they had actors that they couldn't pay and needed to keep paying. Like for example, Rhaena, Bela, like those characters aren't actually that important for huge swaths of it. So they have to keep and they have to manufacture something. They have to manufacture something for Aegon. You know what I mean? They have to manufacture. And I have no problem with that whatsoever. But you don't need to to change him in such a way that doesn't make sense, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense for him to be this abuse victim of Ormond, because there's no, it's completely fabricated. And for no good reason. Like, why? What would be what's the storytelling purpose of having Ormond be like really cruel to Damon and Damon not being brave?
As a viewer, it feels like they're setting up something meaningful. That relationship has worked for me thus far. It's tough to say how I'll feel about it ultimately, but
Yeah.
I like both of them.
I love both of them. But I don't see why what what Ormond is to Damon and what Ormond is and what Damon is affects the strategy going forward. Like,
You mean Darren, right?
Darren, yeah, sorry. I
I
don't see how it makes the strategy or what's to happen more or less interesting. Um, it's been a huge mistake, I think, having Rhaenyra as a main character. It's been a huge mistake having Alicent as a main character. It was a huge mistake, the marketing, black versus green. The more I speak about it, just the shitter it becomes. Like, it's just there's no hero. There's no one to, even though Ned Stark, there's no Jon Snow, there's no Ned Stark, there's no one kind of, any of these fuckers could die and we don't really give a shit,
I never
and
liked
that's
Jon
not
Snow
good.
that much.
Yeah, but like there was a lot of people, like you said this, like when Jamie Lannister lost his hand in season 3, I hated Jamie Lannister, but when that happened to him, I was like, oh no, that must be awful. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't think there's anything there with any of these characters. And as the show goes on, I'm just kind of like, I'm afraid that I'm just liking it less and less, and it's a pity.
For me, I don't quite feel that the same way. It really one of the things that I like most about House of the Dragon is how it recaptures that complicated character dynamic. It feels like every single person has both good and bad, and it's those people who are just plain heroic and noble inside and out who are the most boring for me as a viewer. And oh man, yeah, Jon Snow by the end was just like kind of insufferable for me.
Yeah,
And
by
that was
and
largely
he,
just Dan and Dan
you
fucking
know,
up this plot, but
I from a Night King by the end. Trust me.
uh, uh, yeah, I really like the character dynamic there. I like everyone at least a little bit enough to be totally invested in the plot. I don't wholly want either side to win, and that to me is the sign of a good show. Like, yes, it is. They are framing it as a kind of binary black versus green, but
But that's
it's
so
complicated.
annoying though, because I like all of them so much. Where I'm kind of like, I wish they had I think my point is they focus too much on Rhaenyra and Alicent, and I think there are more different, more interesting characters like Kristen Cole, Aegon, Daemon. You know what I mean? Adam of Hull, because it really dragged when they started talking about the Sea Snakes kids in season 2 until we got to get to know Adam and Alan, the not kids, the two men, and they're awesome. Like, they should have been main characters in my book. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But yeah. But then again, it's about dragons and dragon riders. So
I guess I kind of do agree that they're focusing too much on like Rainier and Alicent, and like if I compare that to Game of Thrones, there were so many different stories and they switched back and forth, and you didn't know, like I didn't know at first like who to focus on. Like I thought Ned Stark would definitely be one of the main characters, and we'd see him, you know, several
all the way.
episodes in, and then you know that was done. And
Mhm.
at first, I didn't know anything. I didn't know who Daenerys was. Like she was just this, you know, princess who got married off to to Dragon and was that it? Drago?
Drew,
Dragon?
Drogo,
Khal Drogo.
Khal
Drogo.
Drogo.
Yeah. But
Well,
yeah, it's
while we're confusing names, I just want to talk about one of my very favorite elements of this universe. It's like what it makes it one of the most hard to talk about, but it also makes it feel so rich and lived in. The fact that George R. R. Martin was stubbornly insistent on having all these characters have the same names as their ancestors, and there's 5 Aegon Targaryens and 5 Aemon
yes.
Targaryens, and there's Daemon and Daenerys and Aemond and Aegon, and man, like for people who don't know the show, it must sound so impossibly dense. And even as someone who's a fan of it, I'm surprised at how often I catch myself slipping up on names.
I had that problems a little bit with Lord of the Rings when they like Sauron and Saruman. I was like, wait, who's
Yeah, I still don't know the difference between those two guys. I know them, but
they-
I always have to ask myself: is the volcano Sauron and is the wizard Sam? Like, which one is
right?
which? So, guys, I want to ask you: when are you going to see the Odyssey?
Tomorrow.
Oh well, I don't have a specific date in mind, but I do want to see it.
I would have seen it this opening weekend if it were possible to get seats, but I live near one of only, I think it's sub 20, 70 millimeter IMAX screens in the country. So the
Uh,
weekend showtimes of that are completely sold out. So we're seeing it midweek, but we got some pretty good seats. We bought them a few weeks out, and yeah, I'm excited for it. It's
I'm excited to hear your reaction. I enjoyed it
Yeah, the way
a
people
lot.
are talking about it, I haven't heard a hype for a movie like this in quite a while.
There's
oh,
been
we have
there's a lot of negative stuff about Lupita Nyong'o and Elliot Page, and there was a lot of people like making fun of, them. I will not make. Well, let's say they started off like like doing an early pre-review of a movie they hadn't seen, and they were giving their reasons, and I was like, okay, that's your opinion and you're entitled to it. Okay, whatever. But since the movie has come out and they've doubled and tripled down, I'm beginning to think that they just might be like, transphobic and racist. You know what I mean? Like, because people, they're just doubling down so much on it.
Mhm.
And having watched the movie, I'm kind of like, guys, it's a pretty awesome movie.
I had one of my friends who was boycotting the Odyssey beforehand because he learned that Elliot Page was going to be playing Achilles, and then turns out that isn't true at all, playing a completely different character. And he's like, guys, I took back what I said. That was silly.
Yeah, well, like, I actually kind of wish he had been playing Achilles. That would have been interesting. In a Nolan movie, I would have loved to have seen a flashback to like Achilles versus Hector, you know?
So
Hector!
what compelled you to see the Odyssey so early in its runtime, despite not being a Nolan fan?
I wanted to write about it and I wanted to get it out of my system.
Mhm.
We went on Saturday and I was going with my wife and another friend. And halfway to the cinema, I was like, oh shit, I forgot my earplugs because I know these movies can be loud. So I started saying, maybe I'll get some tissue at the cinema and all. But that didn't work. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to be here for 3 hours. It's going to be shit. And I was like, I was like talking myself into an early grave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when the movie started, I just said, Joe, Peter, just enjoy the goddamn experience. Just enjoy it. So I sat back, I started, and the minute it started, I was in. It was like I can't remember what sound it was. Maybe it was like a choo, choo. And I was like, all right, I'm in. It was awesome. And every so often I'd look over to my wife. I always kind of judge her reaction to kind of movies. And she was just like, totally into it. And I looked over at my other friend and he was like this. And there was moment then like about an hour and a half into it, without even looking at each other, something happens, and me and my friend and my person in the middle, the two of us, just high five. You know what I mean? We're like, oh, fuck yeah, that was awesome. And like we didn't even like plan that or anything. It was really cool, really good. I wrote my piece. It was really short, and it's like a simpleton's take on a movie. I was like, I really liked it. um, where I kind of said like I hadn't felt that way since like Jurassic Park in like 1993. You know,
Mm.
the best movie experience I've ever had in my life. Not the best movie, maybe, but the best movie experience, which puts it pretty close to being the best movie.
That was seeing Interstellar in the Tuttleman IMAX for me, which for anyone who's been to Philly and is aware, one of the best IMAX screens ever made that closed down during the pandemic and tragically never reopened. But oh my God, it was just so tall. They don't really do theaters like that anymore. It was so tall that to be in the back of it, you felt just dizzied by the height of the theater. And to see such a cosmic adventure in a theater like that, man, it was unbelievable. I remember just hearing myself breathe during one of the scenes where they're just out in space and just wow.
That was so cool, actually. Next time it comes out of the cinemas, I'll definitely get tickets to see that because I hated Interstellar the first time I saw it. Don't ask me why. I just didn't enjoy it. And then I watched it a second time and I was like halfway through the movie. And I was like, oh, well, this is actually really good. I was like, was I having a bad day? Like, what was wrong with me in 2014 or whenever it was? When did it come out first?
2015. Or actually, no, it might have
2015.
been November of 2014, actually.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the calendar, like that year, 10 years ago. I'm like, what's your problem 10 years ago? Did you didn't enjoy this movie, Uh, but there's a great, so like the Trojan horse, saying comes from obviously Troy and the Trojan horse, and the fact that Nolan can kind of make you tear up thinking about what that means, and why we have that saying, the Trojan horse, but like, what does that actually mean for humanity? The fact of like this big trick, it's kind of like, you're like, whoa, okay. Like it was good. Like I always say, like, it's not that deep, but like, if you can like, it is deep, because it's a great story and he's retold it in a really interesting way. And I went into it ready to hate it and I walked out just loving it. Yeah.
Well, that's such a thrill to hear. I'm so excited to see this.
We should be. It's going to be great. It'll be a lot of fun.
While we're talking about awe-inspiring experiences, I should explain what I was driving back from Maryland in the middle of the night from.
I was hoping you were going to say so. I was going to ask you before we left. I was like, I want to hear about yesterday if you were going to talk about it.
Yeah,
if you wanted to.
What was Ben doing yesterday?
I saw Tame Impala perform in Baltimore, and probably my single favorite band of all time. And it is really, really impossible to explain to people just what he puts into those concerts. But to hear one of his albums is a completely incomplete experience if you don't have that visual side of it, because that's how he sees it all in his head. And in the concerts, he completely brings that visual side of it to life. And it's not like the music is underwhelming to listen to with headphones, but to have that added layer, it's just, I didn't know that concerts could be like that. And this is my second time seeing him, mind you, and both times were that same way. And man,
is he a guy or is he a band or? I know them, by the way. I've listened to them on Spotify a few times. I just never seen them.
It's always confusing to talk about because no matter how I refer to him/them, it feels wrong. He, Kevin Parker, is the solo artist who is responsible for all of the albums, does all of the music, does all of the writing, everything. But he performs with a band. So if you're seeing Tame Impala, you're seeing a band.
So it's kind of like my own passion pit. was like Mike does everything, and then Pashup, it's like the name of the project and performs the band. Who else is kind
Oh,
of
it's
like
kind
that?
of
I kind of
kind of like Maroon 5. Adam Levine is, basically.
really 5. They're not like a creative unit. It's just Adam Levine, and then he tours with the band.
Well, I mean, he's like the main singer, the one you hear. I don't know as far as the writing goes, like who collaborates and whatnot, but he's like
Mm.
the figurehead or whatever.
Did you watch the World Cup halftime show?
Well, I do have a funny story about the World Cup. I didn't hear the halftime show part of your question, but I have a DoorDash Dash Pass. This gets relevant. Just bear with me. And a month ago, they asked me randomly to pick a team for the World Cup, and they would split. If you pick the winning team, you would split the pooled earnings with all the other people who picked that same team. And I think the pool was created by DoorDash memberships. But anyway, I just Googled who's most likely to win and saw that Spain was the answer I got. So I just clicked Spain. And lo and behold, yesterday I was informed of my $25 DoorDash credit for Spain's victory in the World Cup.
Oh,
That's awesome! Congratulations.
It would have been kind of fun to watch the game just so I could be like all the more invested in it. Be like, fuck yeah, DoorDash.
You ever get tempted to like, because I don't gamble, but you ever like get tempted to like place a bet on like a sure bet? You know what I mean? Like you just when I go to like pubs in Ireland, and like I say, I don't gamble, but I see someone going in and putting like €10 or $10 down on such and such, and they have no problem like losing 10 or €20. And I'm there kind of going like, oh God, oh my God. Like, you could have bought like at least 4 pints of Guinness with that, you fool. But there's part of me that says like, what if you put down like 100 on like, Real Madrid beating, Las Palmos de los Pollos. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I'm
I was like,
very
I always,
I'm very frugal, so it's hard for me to do something like that. But I mean, I've gambled just a little bit, like done nickel slot machines, stuff like that, but no.
I've had a few recent should I get into gambling experiences. One of which was yesterday with DoorDash. Another one recently. Oh, you were actually there in person for this, Brandon. You might even recall betting someone that they didn't have COVID.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
She was so certain that she'd gotten COVID from being exposed to someone, and I'm just like, you know what? I bet you money that you don't have COVID. And lo and
Yeah.
behold, she did not have COVID. And the most, I think, fulfilling one to date, uh, be- betting's maybe not the most fulfilling. Betting someone that Trump would live to see 2026, and it was a win-win for me because I bet that he would live to see 2026, so I won $20. And
right.
if I had lost the bet, it would have been wonderful because I get to pay out $20 and Trump is dead. That's a very small price to
What are
pay
you
for
crafting with the? We're
the
not
demise
supposed
of
to
our
get
leader.
political on here because our producers will go crazy. What, we're not supposed to get political because our producers will go crazy. But like, what do you think is going to happen? Like with his health, like what's going on there? Because apparently he's on. I don't know what it is, diuretics or something. Like, or I don't know. He's on lots of stuff. I'm not a doctor. What's going on? You guys are American. You tell me. You're closer. You can see.
My producer's nudging me behind the scenes and telling me that I can't speak to the issue.
I think he gets transfusions from the blood of children, and he'll probably live forever.
Just so you know, Brandon is not part of the Peter and Ben happy no politics EV.
He is unbeholden to sponsors.
We just found him on the street.
Should I put out a disclaimer? My opinions and thoughts do not reflect that of the Peter and Ben show.
I don't even know who this guy is. Who is this guy? Ben, who is this guy? That's funny. Okay, well,
I'm glad to hear about the Tame Impala I've always I love the new song, but I had never heard of him before the vampire Dracula song. So I kind of like to look him up now.
Yeah, he started getting really big in 2015, and yeah, it seems right now like he's at the height of his career.
Yeah,
To see last night the way he commanded the largest stadium full of people I've ever been in, it was unreal.
Where were
that's
you
cool.
seated, or were you standing?
We were nowhere near him, but I felt like I was as thankful as could be for where we were. Like
Yeah.
apparently with his shows, everybody feels like they have the perfect seats. I don't know how he pulls off the solution, but we were so far away from him, but still had such an incredible view of everything at the same time.
Very
Okay,
cool.
cool. Should we answer audience questions? Let me go up here and answer some of these questions. Brandon Elridge says, "Hey everyone, talking about House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones." Ginger Cook says, "Oh shit, I can't watch this. I haven't watched the episodes yet." Brandon says,
Oh.
"Haha, no, better leave or mute Ginger." Ginger says, "Bye." So our only comment is of someone leaving. Good job, Brandon.
I pushed them away.
Like when a customer comes into the restaurant, you don't say, "Maybe you should leave."
I
Well,
love your
again, the thoughts and opinions of Brandon Elrich do not reflect that of the Ben and Peter show.
In
I
fairness,
love
though,
your
if you work here, we'll
insistence on
probably only have 10 people watching
I love your
instead of
insistence on
25.
reading our largely non-existent comment section.
Well,
Oh shit, I can't watch this.
Michelle, what's that? Is that Michelle Brody? Hi, Michelle. And Michelle says, "Oh no, why? Why did she say that?"
That was around the time you were talking about the dragon having a very sad ending.
Ah, okay. All right. Well, yeah, okay. We did the comments. Super chats. One day we're going to have super chats, and then we can use the money to gamble
Yeah.
and go to the concert. It'll be fun.
Well, it's been a wonderful time talking to you both as always.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
Thanks for having me on.
You're very welcome. It was lovely to have you on. Ben and I are going to try and do one about the Odyssey sometime this week, whenever Ben is available, I think. And Brandon, if you watch the Odyssey, you can come too. But if you don't watch the Odyssey, you're not allowed in. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay, only
I'll
people
come in
who've
and say,
seen.
"Oh no, oh crap, I can't stay and watch this."
Yes, spoiler. Yeah, he gets back to Ithaca. Dun, dun, dun.
All right, bye everybody.
Bye.
Bye.